we used to compare ourselves to our neighbors and our coworkers and maybe some people on TV and magazines. And that was your comparison group. When you were trying to sum up how well am I doing in life, that's who you compared yourself to. Now it is an endless performance of an algorithmically curated feed of how supposedly beautiful, happy, and successful everybody else is. And so I think we live in an era where it is easier than ever to feel like you're falling behind. Because no matter how well you're doing, you open up Instagram and immediately it's going to show you 700 people who appear to be doing better than you. I feel like I first have to point out that the reason that we live in a world with so much amazing technology and medicine and wealth and innovation is because virtually everybody wakes up every morning saying, this isn't enough. I can do better. I want more. So this is not like an indictment on the idea of feeling like it's not enough. That's actually one of the best. That's the reason we live in such an amazing world of abundance. There's a lot of other things though that should be of the highest importance. Relationships with your spouse, with your children, with your career, with yourself, that are just almost impossible to track. But almost nothing is more tangible than money. And not only is it more tangible, but very similar to health. Not only can I track it myself, I compare it to you. I can say, what is my salary? What is your salary? What is my net worth? What is your net worth? And I think there is a truth too that a lot of life has always been a competition among other people for resources, for attention, for mates, for jobs. It doesn't necessarily matter how well I'm doing. What really matters is how well I'm doing relative to you. That's the truth to it. That can be kind of unfortunate, but there is a lot of truth to that. And that's always been true. That's been true for tens of thousands of years. It's more true than ever today, as I said earlier, because of social media. Only thing that I had close to this when I was a teenager was MTV Cribs. The difference was I knew those were celebrities. When I was watching a home tour with 50 Cent or whatever, I knew he was a celebrity. On Instagram, though, these are our supposed peers who are doing so much better. And so we know it's so easy to feel like we're falling behind. And you can, because of that, I think you can so easily imagine a world in which our kids and our grandkids are richer and living better than us, but they don't feel any better off for it. Because the power of social comparison is just exponentially stronger than it's ever been. I think there's two things. One is that it's actually very difficult to know what you want in life. And that sounds like a kind of a crazy statement, but I think the truth is we're all very different. So what I want might be different from what you want, which is different from what anybody else listening to this wants. There's no universal right way. But we are so accustomed to looking for signals from other people. Well, what is Jay driving? What kind of clothes are you wearing? Well, how big is your house? I'm going to try to take my cues from you, and especially you're going to take your cues from people who you think are happier than you. So if you're going to look on TV, on Instagram, from movies, those people look pretty happy. Well, what kind of lifestyle are they living? What kind of car are they driving? And then like trying to form your mental model of what a good life is from that. And I think that is a very imperfect way to do it. And because we're all so different and not knowing what we want. So I think everybody needs to try different forms of spending more on clothes, on food, on houses, on travel, whatever it might be, because everyone is completely different. And if you're taking your signals from people whose happiness might be a facade, particularly if it's on social media, that has just exploded in the last 20 years, where it's a faux performance of happiness. If that's your signal for happiness, then it's a very difficult thing. The other thing I would say is money is so tangible and counting it is so easy that we overestimate its importance. And I always use this example. If I said I would like to become a 10% better dad, that's a very noble goal. It's a wonderful goal. How do I track that? How do I count
how do you
that?
measure that?
You have no idea. But if I said I want to increase my salary by 10%, very easy to wrap my head around that. Very easy to contextualize that, to track my progress, to compare myself against you. Or if I said, Jay, like which one of us is a better father, me or you? There's no way to track that. There's no metric, even though those are very important things. And so because money is so tangible, we put it to the top of the pile of importance of what we're trying to chase. And if you don't have a good sense of what you want out of life, one with more money is very easy to attach to. And so we overestimate its importance. Not to say that it's not important, but because it's so tangible, it's something that is so easy and obvious to track and chase in your life, even if there are so many other things, relationships, health, time, whatever it might be, that should be of higher importance. In your 20s, you worry about what everyone else is thinking of you. In your 30s, you say, I don't care what anyone's thinking of me. And in your 40s, you finally realize that nobody was thinking about you to begin with. And I think there's a lot of truth to that, that if there is a trick, a hack to this, it's slowly getting to the point where your desire to show off, materially especially, and compete with other people, is based off the assumption that they are watching. That they are paying attention to you. That when you get a nice car, everyone in your town's going to say, ooh, look at Jay's car. Ooh, he must be doing well. And the truth is they're not. They're busy worrying about themselves. They are busy thinking about themselves and their own comparison group. And when you realize that the people who are paying attention to you are a very close-knit group of people who don't care about your car, don't care about your shoes, don't care about your watch, your spouse, your children, your parents, a couple of your friends, a couple of your coworkers, a small group of people who are probably at least not attracted to your material possessions. And I think once I became to closer terms with the game that is played there, then it pushes you towards thinking about spending your money in a way that is less about status and more about utility. What is not about climbing the social ladder and trying to impress people who aren't paying attention, and what is more about utility for giving myself a better life and for helping the people who are paying attention to me, the small, half dozen people who are close to me in my life and do care, and I care desperately about spending quality time with them and whatnot. If I can use money for that rather than playing the silly game that no one's even watching me to begin with, that's a much more productive use of money. An entry-level BMW is just about signaling. It's just to show other people, hey, look, I bought a BMW. But a high-end Toyota gives you nice, cushy leather seats and a moonroof and a great sound system and all those luxuries that are actually good for you. That's utility versus status. And so what I think about sometimes is if I were on an abandoned island somewhere with just my family, how would I live? If nobody else could watch, how would I live? If nobody else could see it, what kind of house would I live in? What kind of car would I drive? How would I dress if it was just utility? And I think in that situation, no, I wouldn't want a BMW. I'd want a pickup truck that has utility and things like that. I would not want a gigantic house. I would want a house that was functional and had a nice view. And so you start asking those questions in a very appropriately selfish way. That's how you start. That's the word I came up with was a humble bubble. You want to get to a point where you're living in a humble bubble, where you're in a bubble because I'm just living in my own little world and hopefully nobody's watching, because nobody is watching. Just how can I do this with myself and my family? But you're doing it in a humble way of just, I just want to use money as a tool to live a better life, not as a yardstick of status to compare myself against others by. And so I try to do that a lot. It's not that nobody is watching. It's not to say, live like a bum because nobody's watching. I want to dress appropriately and drive a decent car and whatnot. So this is not completely black and white, but I think we overestimate the extent to which other people are watching. One quick story here that got me set on this topic was a friend of mine whose family are billionaires and have been for many decades. And he told me a story. He's now in his 50s or 60s. He told me the story that when he was a child, his grandfather, who was the billionaire, was so dead set on not raising spoiled kids and spoiled grandkids. And so he would go through these exercises to make sure the kids were not spoiled. One of which was when they went skiing, the grandfather would say, if you want me to buy you a lift ticket, you have to hike up the hill once and then ski down, and then I'll buy you a lift ticket. You first prove to me that you have the grit and the integrity to hike up the mountain. And my friend told me the lesson that they learned as children was not integrity or grit or the value of money. The lesson that they learned was grandpa is an asshole. And that's what they took away from it. And he told this story with a very good lesson, which was, I think there are a lot of parents who are like, I don't want to raise spoiled children, so I'm going to make them work their butts off, and I'm going to withhold money from them, and I'm going to make them learn. And it's done very well intentioned, but in the eyes of a child, the lesson that you're trying to get across almost never gets across. And the lesson that they hear from the parents is, I, the parent, am superior to you. I am up here, you are down there, I'm better than you. And rather than giving your child grit and integrity, you give them a sense of inferiority. It's always well-intentioned, but that's almost always how it comes across. And the lesson that he told me was like, you have to teach your kids through example. You have to lead by example, not by humiliation. Mm-hmm. And so there's kind of two takeaways here. One, if you are a family of higher means, higher income, you have to live the same lifestyle as your kids. It's almost impossible to say, mom and dad are up here and you're down here. It does not work.
Yeah, we're flying first class and you're in coach, right? No.
Doesn't work. Does not work. So choose your lifestyle carefully. I think tied to that is the idea that the kids are always watching. You don't have to sit down with your children and say, let me teach you about money. Let me teach you about budgeting and investing and saving and spending. You don't have to do that. They're already paying attention. Mm-hmm. There's a good analogy here, I think, between parents and politics. There's so much evidence that people inherit their political beliefs, particularly from their father. Extremely high correlation between your father's political views and your own. But most of the time, parents do not sit down with their children and say, let me give you a lecture on politics. Let me tell you why I believe this. The kids just pick it up through osmosis, through overhearing little comments here and little comments there. And, Dad, what are you watching on TV? What are you reading in the newspaper? They pick it up over time. And I think money is exactly the same. That you don't have to sit down with your kids and say, let me teach you about money. They are watching from the time they're 3 years old or whatever. Every time you say, we can't afford this. Every time you go to the store and say, I value this, I don't value that. Every time that you're criticizing somebody else, every time you make a sly comment about the stock market or interest rates, whatever, or mortgages, whatever it might be, they're making a mental model of it. And so this too gets to the point of leading by example. You don't have to sit your kids down and teach them. They're already getting it. Just make sure you're being very careful and cautious and thoughtful about your own financial behaviors because they're watching. And so I asked him one day, like, how did you grow up like this, but your personality is that? It doesn't fit the stereotype of the spoiled little kid.
Right.
And that's what he said. He was like, look, I'm speaking through him. He said, I always knew that we were very wealthy, but it was not a part of what we valued as a family. We did not, he said, I always knew I had more money than my friends, but it was taught at an early age that doesn't make you superior to them in any way. And the family valued empathy and love and caring and understanding and like all these other traits. And I think that's actually pretty rare, because I think it's actually more common that a wealthy family does have a sense of superiority and entitlement. By the way, that's probably why they're wealthy, because they have this idea of like, I can get ahead, I can do this, I am better than other people, I can go out and do it. That's why they're wealthy. But if you pass down those values to your children, that's where spoiled little brats come from. It's a feeling of superiority to other people. And so now, whether that is cause and effect, whether my friend is caring and empathetic because of what his parents taught him, or that's just who he was, that's just how he's wired, to be determined. But I think there's a lot to say to that I think most spoiled kids, it's not because the parent was spending a lot of money on them. It's because the parent had a sense of that is what matters, and that's what you should judge other people by, is how much money they're spending in life. That's what makes them good or bad. What was it like to grow up with a billionaire father, billionaire parents? And his answer was, it's all I've ever known. I've never known anything different. So it's not that interesting. So it's not that interesting. And of course, our children, even if we are not billionaires, our children don't fully comprehend, at least my young children, how much better off they are to a starving child in Africa. Because all my children know is a refrigerator filled with food. And like, everybody's reality is just their reality. And they don't, like, particularly when you're that young, they don't understand any concept of privilege or where they stand on the ladder until they get older and they really start comparing themselves to their peers. But that also gets to the point of like, it's not how much you spend, it's the values that you instill, and giving them a broader sense of the world and teaching them empathy and whatnot. At the individual level, it can be a tragedy, because even if you've achieved every goal you've ever wanted, a lot of those people, almost all of those people, will wake up every morning and saying, yes, but if only I had X, Y, and Z. And even if you achieve a level of fame and fortune, you probably wake up saying, yes, but only if I had anonymity. I heard this story from Barack Obama. They said he has dreams, literal dreams at night, of walking through Central Park by himself with nobody noticing him.
Oh.
He's like, it's just that's his life goal, which to you and I and everyone else listening, we have that. We can do that, and so no matter what you have, any level of fame, fortune, success that you can dream about today, you're probably going to want something different once you have it. And I think this gets back to what we talked about earlier of if you don't have a sense of what you want in life and what's going to make you actually happy and fulfilled, a life with more money is an easy assumption to make.